Hi. So in this film we're going to talk about guarantors. When you rent somewhere new, you may be asked for a guarantor. This is someone who agrees to be responsible for your rent and your other legal obligations in a tenancy agreement. So, for example, if you or any of your co-tenants damage the property or don't pay your rent, your guarantor could be asked to pay what you owe instead. It's quite common for a landlord to ask for a guarantor if you have a low credit score, or if you're in a category of tenants that they see as posing a higher risk. For example, students, people in insecure jobs, benefit claimants, or if you can't supply references from a previous landlord. The landlord or their agent will usually want a guarantor to be someone who lives in the UK, is over 18 years old, is a homeowner, and has a job that gives them enough income to be able to pay any debts that you might owe the landlord. Although it's very common for a guarantor to be a family member, lots of people don't have anyone in their family who can do it. In this position, please see what to do if you can't get a guarantor. You'll find it difficult to persuade anyone to act as your guarantor unless you can be relied on to pay the rent, keep the property in good condition, and not cause a nuisance to the neighbours. Tenant referencing companies check out potential tenants for landlords. Typically, they look at your credit history, check with your employer that you earn what you say you do, check with your current landlord whether you're a good tenant, and check that the bank details you've given are genuine. Some people wonder if the landlord will really check a guarantor's details, but they almost certainly will. So ignore any suggestions from a friend who says you should just put your parents' names down and forge their signature and you'll be fine. Any info you provide is likely to be checked. If you're caught out, you will not only lose out on the tenancy, but you may have committed a criminal offence. What is a guarantor responsible for? What exactly the guarantor is responsible for depends on what's written in the guarantee. That's the contract the guarantor signs. It might be more than just rent. It could be the cost of putting right any damage to the property or any other cost the tenancy agreement allows your landlord to charge you for. If you haven't been given much or any information about what your guarantor will be responsible for, you should ask the landlord or their agent to provide more. If the landlord asks the guarantor to pay any debts you've caused, they'll have to pay up in the timescale outlined in the guarantee, for example 14 days. If they don't, your landlord could take them or you to court. If your guarantor does end up having to pay any money on your behalf, you should repay them, and they could take court action against you if you don't. If you're renting with other people. One thing you need to be clear on is, if you rent a property with other people, friends or other students say, you are likely to be jointly responsible for their share of the rent and any other obligations as well as your own. In this situation, your guarantor is likely to be responsible for whatever any of you owe, not just your share. It's very important that your guarantor reads the guarantee carefully so that they definitely understand what they're signing up to. If it makes them responsible for more than just rent, it's important that they read the tenancy agreement as well, so they know what else they are guaranteeing. When does a guarantor's responsibility start and end? This depends on the wording of the guarantee. If you're sharing with other people, protect your guarantor by making sure that their responsibility only starts when your friends' guarantors have signed up too. Often your guarantor will be responsible until the end of the tenancy. So, for example, you failed to pay your last month's rent, your landlord has 6 years from the date that the rent was due to take action against you or your guarantor. Asking for changes to the guarantee. If you think some terms of the guarantee are unfair, you could ask the landlord to agree to change it before you sign. You probably have limited negotiating power though, so ask really nicely. You might want to ask to change it so, for example, the guarantee only lasts for 6 months or a year. Or if you're renting with friends, that your guarantor is only liable for a fair portion of the debt. So for example, if you're sharing with 3 others, your guarantor is only responsible for 25% of the rent for any 1 month. Lots of landlords aren't willing to do this, but it might be worth a try, particularly if you look like the model of responsibility. Check out our film, Tips to Show You Will Be a Good Tenant. And lastly, be fair to your guarantor. We suggest you make sure that they understand what's involved. Show them the tenancy or rental agreement and the guarantee they would be signing up to. Send them a link to our Information for Guarantors film. Encourage them to get legal advice before they decide, if possible. Offer them an easy way of checking that you're actually paying the rent. For example, you could ask the landlord or their agent to email you confirming receipt of the rent and forward this to your guarantor every month. Work out a plan to ensure you don't create problems for your guarantor. For example, start saving so if you hit financial difficulty, you can still pay your rent. And that's it. For more help and ideas, check out Advice Now for more information. Good luck. I hope it works out.